All right. Tucker, welcome. So before we get started, can you just give us a little bit about your background?
For sure, and thank you for having me. My name's Tucker Skenderian. I've been at Rapid7 for 7 years now and helping companies really improve their security programs.
What do you like to do for fun?
You know, just like being outside. So whether it's hiking, golfing, taking care of the lawn of the house my wife and I just bought, it's something active when not in front of a computer screen.
Nice. Where was the last place you went that was outside, I guess? Like a big.
Well, actually, Kurt, the last time, or really the first time you and I met face to face was at the Ryder Cup a couple weeks ago. It was really like the first fun outside event that involved golf. It involved being customer facing, where fun met work in a really fun event.
Nice. I think I saw you post something on Facebook on
Yeah.
that. But all right, so let's kind of get into the weeds a little bit here. So before we start talking about just like topical stuff, can you tell us a little bit about what Rapid7 does?
Yeah. So Rapid7's been a constantly evolving security company. When folks ask me who are outside the space, it's a cybersecurity company where we help companies with their SecOps challenges, and that can take a myriad of different forms. And that's been the fun challenge with working in this role, is to help folks with those ever diversifying challenges, and having a solution for them has been hugely rewarding.
So Rapid7 for years was kind of in the vulnerability management business, then it's been kind of buying parts up. What is the vision, and why should someone look at Rapid7 versus maybe some of your competitors?
Yeah, so with Rapid7 being involved in a very crowded security landscape has differentiated itself because it can do so many things so well, and not in the sense of where you think some folks think of like a Cisco, where they just acquire all these companies and its good products go to die. And that's not a knock on Cisco, because they certainly have their strengths. Yeah. But what helps differentiate Rapid7 is their ability to ingest the companies that they expand into and the new areas of security that become relevant. Folding those into a digestible, usable fashion has been a unique benefit.
So the managed security provider over the years is kind of never really been all that popular with their clients. It's kind of like the lowest, it's like there's someone that they always love to hate, and it was MSSP, and now we've got, then we had EDR, now we have NDR and XDR. So who's getting it right, and what does it take to get it right? What do you need to be aware of?
Yeah, the acronyms that come, MXDR and NDR, MDR, UBA managed SIM. I mean, all these things, right? The eye rolls are continuous, and that area of security has really been an area of opportunity for Rapid7, just because I feel as though we get it right because it has been gotten wrong for so long, in a manner of speaking, because it's typical black box approach with a lack of actionable intelligence stemming from that service has left customers wanting so much more. We've been successful with our engagement model of having companies, or being able to understand what the company's looking to accomplish. And leveraging what they have today, leveraging our products that come with the service to help them achieve those goals, whatever they may be. We found a way to make more companies than not successful.
And one of the keys, I think, is you have a pretty rigorous onboarding process in helping them work their way through and get to understand the tool and what it can do.
Yes, it's a pretty thorough dating process where we kind of get where it's, hey, let's get to know you. Right. What are you looking to accomplish? Because it's different from the guys down the street, whomever they may be. And having the one size fits all that traditional MSSP model doesn't scale. It doesn't translate for where the space is today, where they need to be adaptable. Programs need to adjust as the threat actors change and as they innovate at an ever increasingly fastening pace. The program today can't keep up based off of its traditional way of working, so they need a more adaptable security partner.
Right. And then I think a big part of this is also the security has gone, it's adaptive. So you have to be able, you can't just fire alarms. You can't, individual things by themselves or individual events aren't necessarily a security incident, but you have to be able to track that. And then when maybe this comes together with now someone's uploading a file, now
Yes.
it becomes a security incident. So how do you differentiate yourself in that whole adaptive security to get rid of those false positives and just give actionable intelligence? And on top of that, that hopefully you're not being attacked 99% of the time actively, at least, have an incident going on.
Right.
So how do you bring value when, that other time when you're monitoring and things aren't actually happening? How do you help people improve the efficacy of their program at that point?
It's a really good question because it brings into the equation a number of different challenges that the average security program has faced over the years. And at one point it was, hey, we don't have enough data. Well, now you have too much data. And a lot of that is data you're generating internally, and a lot of that is noise outside of the company's walls. What's happening on the threat landscape, and there's so much digestible information. And how is that relevant for us? Is it? How do we act upon it? Do we act upon it? Some of the things you're talking about, right? We see one alert here within our firewall. Does that mean that it's an indicator of compromise? Is it a real incident? Well, yeah, teams don't have the bandwidth, the time, the resources to investigate all of those individual alerts. And so where we see the space heading is gathering all that data within the walls and outside of said walls. How do we put that together in a way that makes sense for us so that we can act upon it in a digestible fashion? And unless you have your own IR team where you're experts in everything and all things, more power to you. I haven't worked with a company who's got all those things.
Right, yep. It's hard to dabble in security nowadays and set up a 5 or 6 man team, even if that's the minimum required to have 24/7 coverage and have expertise and have continuity. It's really a tough challenge. And people, unless you have maybe that you have to really have a good business case to really want to be in that business. I think it's gotten so complex and the attacks so sophisticated that you need someone that's what they do for a living.
And that's where a managed partnership comes into play, where they do that for a living. They know how to make this outside threat intelligence, cyber threat intelligence, CTI, more digestible for the average company, where they say, here's what we're seeing, and here's why it's important to you based off of our dating process, where we know, what your IR responses are, where we know where your business critical assets are, what normal looks like, combining, again, the inside with the out, giving the end practitioner, here's what you need to do and why, so that they can go off and be successful and get home to be with their family so that they can do some of those things fun outside of work, right? Or they can have a life outside the computer screen. And, that is the nice reward for what I do anyway, to allow folks to do that, be successful in work and be able to enjoy life outside of it.
So do you help them with what kind of things they need to be logging to so you can get incidents and tell them where their gaps are so they can make sure they can increase that efficacy so that you can see what's actually going on? And what's the typical use cases for that, I guess? What do you find in?
Yeah, well, we, and going back to some of the historical challenges with that MSSP model, folks are coming out of the, hey, can we afford to send this much data, for example, to a SIM? Can we ingest this important event source? Can we afford that? Well, it's been our philosophy to not put companies in that decision, not having them to make that decision. Sacrifice good security practice for what we can afford. Nobody wants to be in that spot. And so Rapid7 does its job to take data out of the equation with its licensing model, but really just to enable best security practices. So feeding in, Kurt, to your point, the key log sources, which can be a lot of data, but there's so much good data that's in there. There's so much data to begin with, but being able to ingest all of that and then on us to parse out what's tactically important, strategically important, putting that in front of the end user so they can act upon it and understand why and confidently act upon it so that they can report back to the business, hey, here's what we're seeing, here's why it's important. And again, so that they can have that security outcome without having to spend an inordinate or an inefficient amount of time to get there.
So if a customer already has a SIM or something, do you encourage them to keep that? Do you collect data directly? What's what options do they have, and how would Rapid7 best fit into an organization like that?
Yeah, if they have something existing and it's working for them, it's possible, certainly, for us to cooperate with an existing SIM was the specific tool you mentioned there. Ideally, though, it's starting net new.
Okay.
With our model, it does deploy our Gartner leading SIM.
So you don't need it. You can maybe save some cost allocation money that way too.
Yes, yeah, and we do have customers who use our MDR service, and they'll keep the traditional SIM for in pockets, if you will.
Okay, for compliance, maybe reporting, things like that, possibly.
Maybe it's just their baby, and they
Oversight,
don't want to
oversight. Maybe that's their way of validating and things. Maybe.
Could be right, and perhaps they brought it on and used a lot of their political capital to bring it on, and they don't want to get rid of it.
Yep.
In other cases, maybe it's tied to older systems.
Okay.
And maybe they can't deploy an agent on it, for example. Or,
Sure. Okay.
We can come up with what some of those one-offs are, but they do exist. We have the ability to meet the customer where they are and work with what they have. Where our customers are most successful for security use cases, they are leveraging Insight IDR. And that way they can have that shared portal with our SOC. They can see what we see, and everybody works together and smoothly.
Great.
Yeah.
So Tucker, let's wrap this up here. But I have one question for you, because I was doing a little stalking on you on the internet here, and you've been with
It's all
Rapid7.
true.
So you've been with Rapid7 for a while. So I'd be interested to understand, like, what is the biggest fundamental change you've seen in your tenure at Rapid7, and when was that?
So it's a good question. It's our ability to make the correct bets. Rapid7 has been successful not because we have squeezed all the water out of the stone of everything that we've done so far. Our success has been what's the next challenge that our customers don't realize that they have yet. SOAR, for example, most recently with our acquisitions of DivvyCloud and AllSeed. Companies are moving towards the cloud, and security, as much as they want to work with the business, can't always keep up. And their dev teams are going to go out and they're going to spin up EC2s and Azure instances, and sometimes the security team doesn't know about it, exposing the team to more risk. Going down a little bit of a rabbit hole and kind of expanding upon your question, but it's an example of how Rapid7 has stayed successful. That's why I've stayed with Rapid7, is we are constantly innovating and looking for that next thing. And knock on wood, we haven't been wrong yet.
Awesome.
And that's a credit to our leader, Corey Thomas, who's just been fantastic to work with for a number of reasons. But that one comes to mind when he's steering the company in the right direction, and we're hoping for more to come.
Great. Well, I appreciate you coming on IT Trendsetters today.
It's been great. Thank you for having me.